So my name is Sharon Delaney-Sage, and I'm one of the Women in Games ambassadors. I teach at a UK university called Norwich University of the Arts, and we are partnered now with Women in Games as an educational ambassador. And this is Emma Cowling. And Emma is going to introduce herself, but as she was just saying, she's had her own business for 18 months, but actually has been getting so much experience over the previous 15 years that it's informed her business in every way, I should think. So I'll let you take over, Emma, and tell Joelle, all about your business.
Thank you. That's fantastic.
So welcome everybody. Sorry, welcome all the people that are joining us.
Welcome everyone. I'm watching the numbers go up as we go, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time just to start with introducing myself while people join. So we're here to talk about being your authentic self. That's the purpose of this. And so as Sharon said, I am Emma Cowling, and I'm a leadership coach working with women in tech to help them become more resilient and to become more confident in themselves so that they can turn up authentically and ideally turn up as authentic leaders going into the tech industries, into the games industries, and influencing to make sure that that diversity actually delivers in that sense. So the thing that I see is that the importance of how when we show up in diverse teams, there is more innovation. We get a larger range, a larger audience. We reach people with new products. And so when our voices are heard and when we show up authentically, there's more chance of that happening. So that's that's what I do. I've been doing it for 18 months. Yeah, I guess I want to talk about showing up authentically and being your authentic self. So as I'm kind of watching the chat as we go along, if you've got any questions that come up as I'm talking, I'm going to share various different ideas. If you've got any questions that come up while I talk, what I'll do is I'll notice them. If you're up for coming on, then Sharon can bring you on and you can ask that question directly, or we can just leave it in the chat and I will try and address it as we go along. I might do that in groups, so I'll kind of talk a bit and then I'll pull something together and see what questions there are. But yeah. So what I wanted to start off with, as we're talking about being our authentic selves, the thing I wanted to share first is pretty much what happened and what happens for me when I show up to do something like this. So what's really interesting is that I show up to events and, oh, hi, Margaret.
Hi, I wasn't sure if this would be a panel or an everybody can join thing.
That's cool. I'm just going to talk, and then if you've got questions, then I'll kind of pull you in at times. So drop them in the chat, and then we'll do it that way. That's what I've suggested. Okay. So it's up to you whether you share your video and audio or not as you go on.
Right. Then I'm going to just leave it to you guys.
So showing up authentically. This is me being and sharing my story authentically. So when I turn up to games conferences, the first thing that comes up for me is, I don't belong, I'm an imposter, this isn't for me. And the things that are going through my head are, number one, I don't work in the games industry. I'm not working for a games company. I'm not doing development. I'm not, all these kind of I'm nots come up. And then the other thing that comes up for me is I'm not a gamer. I don't play console games. I'm not a huge, massive I don't spend all my time gaming. So I kind of talk myself out of showing up and being me and being who I am. And some of you may recognize some of this because I know that there are people, and because I've been to this conference the last couple of years, I've realized what a friendly and supportive community it is. But what tends to happen is that I meet people and realize that most people are running a very similar kind of pattern of thinking as well. And so what tends to happen then is that, and what I've learned is that actually this is just my thinking going on. And when I then connect back into that, I kind of go back to, well, okay, I don't work in games, but over the last 7 years, I've been set up a massive research project at the University of York, which is all about academics and the games industry collaborating to get more research into games. So actually I have loads of contacts in the games industry and I do work there, It's just that it's not what I think as the games industry working in it and working for a company. So there's kind of, it's amazing how quickly you can shut yourself down and sort of say, well, this isn't, I don't fit, I'm an imposter, when actually, when you look into the detail, a lot of people are thinking a similar thing. In terms of being a gamer, I don't play console games, but I do love mobile games, and I love discovering the kind of quirky mobile games that are coming out from independent developers. So some of the things that I played My Child Lebensborn after the last conference and absolutely loved it. I love playing Thomas Was Alone, and the story that came through something very simple. And so I do play games. I'm just not a typical gamer. And this is what came through for me earlier on with Aviva's talk, that kind of tweet that she showed. I don't know if you saw it, but it was this kind of dismissive, if you're not a console gamer, you're not a gamer. And so quickly that can dismiss us and put us off, and we can buy into that thinking without realizing that that's what we're doing. And then we start to feel like we're an imposter and we don't belong. But actually, I do belong. And I wanted to use that as an example. And while it might sound easy for me to kind of show up and share that story with you and kind of say these things, actually when I was putting this talk together, I was thinking, how do I introduce myself? And realizing that actually I've got to put myself out there. I've got to be authentic. I've got to be vulnerable. And so that's what I'm doing. And in doing that, there's this little thing on me going, but all these people are going to be listening. And what if they don't like me? What if they judge me? What if they decide that they don't want to listen to me anymore? And so that's part of being authentic. And even though I've been working on my authenticity for however long it is, the kind of years and years of kind of developing and growing myself, I still get that little feeling when I show up and I be vulnerable, because I get worried about what people think. So I'm kind of noticing some of the comments going through here. And so just about dismissing gamers and that kind of idea that, yeah, women only play Sims and Candy Crush. It's not true. And there are so many mobile games out there that are so rich and so diverse that people don't necessarily recognize and that are changing the way we think about games. And that's really powerful. So that's me. Just a quick overview. I wanted to just ask the question. So in talking about authenticity, what I'm really interested to know from you guys is, what is it that you think authenticity is? What does authenticity mean to you? So if you've got kind of anything you want to put in the chat, if you want to kind of pop on and give me something, then please do. But just what does it mean to be authentic? How do you know when you're being authentic? I'm going to give a little bit of time for people to have a think about that, because that's something quite a big question. And I know when I was first asked that, it was much more, I could tell you as a feeling, but putting it to words was a little bit difficult. So Harinder, tell me.
Welcome, Harinder, to answer that question. I have a feeling you have a view about what is really authentic, Harinder.
Authentic. Do you know what? It's bringing your whole self is about being authentic. That's what it should be. And listening, Emma, to what you just said, I couldn't get my video going quick enough almost to just say it's really important to be, because actually the games industry is an amazing place to be. I've been here for 13 years and it's changed so much in that time. It really has. And it's not about console or mobile, because it doesn't matter. It's about what you bring to the table. It's about you and what you bring to the table, and we'll all make better games, and we'll all be in a much better environment if we're all here together and welcome other people as well. That's the most important thing. And have a space where it's okay. It's okay and is accepted to be that whole self that you bring to the table. And that's what
just looking at the chat, Harinder and Emma, also Kelly is saying that she feels that authenticity is sort of revolves a little bit about being secure with who you are. And I know that, Emma, that's something that you focus on a lot. And perhaps in my experience of university students is often that their insecurities hold them back. How important do you think that is in being authentic?
Yeah, I think I'm going to bring that in a little bit in a minute with one of my examples, but that's what I was going to say next is, well, what stops us? If being authentic is so great, because that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing trust, I'm seeing honesty, all these things that we want to show up as. So what stops us? And the thing that stops us is insecurity and fear of judgment, fear of what other people are going to think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and that is. But the thing that feeds into is we all feel insecure. That's part of being human. And one of the things that I hope came across a little bit at the beginning is that I'm showing up, kind of sharing my story, and I'm a little bit insecure about it, because it's kind of natural that you're all there and you're listening to me, and it could go horribly wrong and all this sort of stuff. But actually realizing that that's okay, that's a huge leap, and kind of going, okay, I'm a little bit insecure about this. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I'm not going to die if everyone just walks off and I only have Sharon listening to me.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
really interesting. The one thing that I think, I don't know how other people feel about this, but I talk to the team a lot about this. It's sometimes it's trying to mute the 4 voices in your head that are telling, and I kind of describe it as that. It's the 4 voices in your head that are saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing that for?" Yeah. People are gonna laugh at you. People are gonna know. They're gonna know you don't know what you're talking about. They're gonna know. You know.
Yeah.
And there's this one voice in the back of the head that says, "It's okay. It's okay." And that's the one that we tend to mute. And for me, I'm 43. It's only taken me over the last 12 months to realise it's okay. It's okay. And I think if more of us got that when we were younger, it wouldn't hold us back so much. So sometimes it is. I think it's trying to learn. And I talk about imposter syndrome a lot, because I get it. I've got the badge.
So Emma, could we ask you, what do you feel? How can young women who feel? So Rebecca has said in the chat. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
Student, so I'm delighted that she's here. But she's saying that insecurity, especially self-doubt, definitely stops her from being who she knows she can be without those kind of interfering thoughts. Have you got some ideas about how people can kind of control those overpowering thoughts?
Yes, and not necessarily control, but just know, like Harinder says, that idea that there are lots of thoughts going on in our head all the time, and very often the ones we listen to are the ones that are the negative ones, because that's our natural instinct. We want to protect ourselves. We feel like we're not going to be okay, but actually we don't listen to the voice that's going, you know what, you are okay. You've got this. You can do it. And when we trust that voice that is the kind of you're okay, stuff happens. We start to shine. So I wanted to share a bit of an analogy which might help. So one of the things that I see around authenticity and kind of showing up and being vulnerable is the thing that stops us is that fear and that insecurity. And the fear and the insecurity is of what it is that other people are going to think. How are people going to judge us? What are they going to say about us? And so the thing that I share within my coaching and my programs is an understanding of actually how the mind works and how we create our own world. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I think that gives a bit of an idea or a bit of a different perspective on this. Let me just, as we're in the games environment, imagine that what I see is that we're almost all in our virtual world. So we've put on our own virtual reality headset. And what we create that world through our experiences from when we're very young, all the way through. Our experiences build and build and build and create this world that we exist in. And what happens is that environment builds on the fact that our experiences get turned into memories, and then our memories kind of go, these are the rules of how the world works. Kind of get different memories together that sort of say, well, this is the rule of how this particular thing works. And so then when we see that thing working, we're using that rule and we're seeing the same thing and reinforcing it and reinforcing it. So our experiences kind of build on each other and create this whole virtual world that we're experiencing, which is different from another person, because no one person lives through exactly the same experiences. So you might be sat next to someone with exactly the same physical environment around you, but your experience will be different. So it's like we're both sitting. It's a bad example because we're not sitting next to each other anymore, but but even on here. So and actually maybe this is an even better example. So for me and Harinder, we're seeing similar things, but she's in her world and I'm in my world. But if you imagine that you were sat next to someone, you both had a VR headset on, and you went into Minecraft, just as a random example, and you both go into the same setup of Minecraft, but one person's got zombies running around in it and the other person hasn't. And just to add to the complexity of trying to describe this scenario, but imagine you could actually see that person in your world, but you can't see what they're seeing. And that's what I see that's happening to us, is that kind of we see that person in our world and assume that they see everything as we do, but they're not. They've got their own sort of rules and experiences running that are enforcing that. So what that means in terms of authenticity and judgment is that when we show up and we kind of put ourselves out there, and we look at other people to judge what we're doing and say, yeah, you're right, you're okay, you are turning up authentically, and you know what, that's fine. When they don't say that, when they judge us, they're not judging us from within our world, they're judging us from within their worlds. They're judging us from a whole different set of rules that we don't know what that is. So there's a really kind of interesting dynamic there about how we're looking externally for judgment, and using that external judgment to define how we live our lives. But actually, we need to be looking internally. We need to be looking at what's true for us, because we're the only person that can know our world. We're the only person that can know what resonates for us. So I don't know, it's kind of a come out in quite a roundabout way, but hopefully that's kind of, people are hearing what I have to say within that. And so I'm just kind of, is there anything coming through on the comments, whether people are getting it?
Well, lots of really interesting comments. And Alison is saying that she feels that there's a relationship with resilience in that. What do you feel about the importance of resilience in this attempting to be authentic?
Definitely. When we start to realize that this is the case, that we're in this virtual world, and we're defining it for ourselves, and that actually we're okay in this world, then we can be more resilient. We can show up more resilience. We can kind of start to see that other people their views and their opinions don't matter so much. And while the thing that I know from working around this for the last, I've been specifically working on this sort of understanding for the last couple of years for myself. The more I'm hearing it, the more it makes sense. And when I first kind of heard it, it was like, yeah, okay, it kind of makes sense logically. And then as I've kind of come back to it and had conversations with other people who are kind of sharing these ideas, I've gone, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's kind of like resilient. Yeah, I'm okay. And then I show up in a different way. So it's kind of, it builds and it builds. Katie, I just saw saying resonate with that. That's really cool. Joelle, do I think mindfulness helps? I've been engaging lots of mindfulness. So mindfulness definitely helps in this. And this is some of the principles that are in this is kind of, it alludes to mindfulness. It's the idea of being able to let go and realize that your thinking is the stuff that is creating your world. And if you can drop your thinking, if you can, and even dropping your thinking sounds wrong, but when you can let go of your thinking and see that it's just thinking, then a new degree of clarity comes through.
Constance is saying that it's very difficult to work out who you are in order to be authentic, if also you've had to hide that quite a lot, which I think, whatever you are hiding, or, whatever you feel that you can't be authentic about in the world, I think it is what do you feel, Emma, about that kind of, construct that we all sort of have to, we have a lot of constructs put on us, don't we, about other people's perceptions, which is what you've been saying. That's an important part maybe of releasing some of that pressure off yourself.
And especially when we've been showing up in a world where we feel obviously different, we end up trying to fit ourselves in to the world that's around us. And so we do mask ourselves. And that's something that a process that I've gone through, which is kind of releasing and letting go. And all of these words they sound so kind of, oh, you just release it, but it's not like that. It's just keeping on, coming back to it and kind of going, checking in with yourself. Am I being authentic here? What's important to me? And often that comes through a feeling rather than a logic. So when you start trying to analyze your thinking and saying, is it this or is it this? And kind of reason through in words, instead just checking in with yourself and thinking, do I feel authentic with this? Does this feel right for me? And if it doesn't, then it's kind of just recognizing that. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't kind of think, I've got to do something different. It's just recognizing and kind of going, okay, what's different? Get curious about, well, when do I feel authentic? What does that feel like? And then the more that you kind of notice that, the more that you start to show up in that way.
Tuli is talking about some reading, which is really nice. Thank you for giving us a recommendation. Brené Brown, who's talking about the link between vulnerability and authenticity, which you started out by mentioning as well, didn't you? And this is sort of addressing the fact that trust is really important in organizations, and building trust is one of the kind of big relationship elements that's important in a workplace, isn't it?
Yeah, and building trust and trusting. So learning to trust, and again, that's a scary thing, that if you trust someone and then they do something with that trust, that they take advantage of you in some way, will you be okay? And if you can start to see that you will be okay, then that's what allows you to kind of do it. And kind of so the other analogy, if I go back to the virtual reality headset, the idea that, okay, I've gone into the VR environment, and this is my thinking that's creating this, and sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down, and it drifts around all over the place. Sometimes I feel in a fantastic mood, sometimes I feel really low. When I feel low, actually the world feels like it's getting to me. I feel like more of an imposter. When I feel high, I feel like I can do anything, and we shift up and down. But also you can take the headset off, and that for me, the idea of kind of, I've taken it off, I'm now my authentic, that is my authentic self. And I know that's very conceptual. So what does taking it off mean? But it's kind of seeing that we're in a game and we've created this environment, and actually when we take it away, it's kind of like, okay, I'm connecting with me now.
Hannah's asking, which is an interesting kind of segue in from that point into tips for authenticity in the interview process, because of course that is a very pressurized moment when people's masks are well and truly on sometimes. Any kind of ideas for Hannah about what could be useful in terms of being your authentic self and not being afraid in an interview process?
I think the first thing that came to me there was, it's about checking in with. So if you want to show up authentically in your environment, and you show up to an interview and you feel you can't be authentic, you can't be as much yourself as you can, then there's a question of whether you want to be in that place anyway. So, and I'm saying that with caution, because of course we've got this idea that we need to find a job, we need to find a role, so we need to fit in, and so that's always a tear. But the more you can show up as you, the more they will pick up on that and see your strength. And if you do that and they don't take you, and it's because you've showed up authentically, then there's a question of, would you want that role anyway?
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Sometimes the interview process is and I'm going to take that away. I'm going to have to love and leave you, unfortunately, because I've got to go to another session. But Harinder is with you, and also in the background, Gemma is here to moderate the questions and pass some of them on to you. So thank you so much, and sorry to abandon ship, but I have enjoyed it so much. And thank you everybody who's been listening. You've been asking and making some really great comments, but hopefully see you later.
So I was going to say that I'm going to be dropping in and out of, so I don't know what time we have to finish the session, but I'm going to be dropping in and out of the networking stuff, and I will be around for the whole of the conference. So if anyone wants to kind of, if we bump into each other, then I'm happy to have a chat.
And you've got your profile details up, haven't you, as well?
Well,
so
on my profile, yeah, I've got Twitter. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I also have a Facebook group which I'm going to just drop in here. So I've got a free. See you, Sharon.
Hi, sorry everyone.
Hopefully this is going to work. So I run a free Facebook group called Authentic Tech Leaders with Emma Cowling, which I've only set up about 6 weeks ago, but we've got 50 people in there, and it's all about where I'm sharing ideas and encouraging people to connect and share ideas around authenticity, showing up authentically. So if you are interested, then click the link and come and join me. If you miss the link from this and you kind of think, oh, I want to know more, then please do just message me either directly through this or on LinkedIn or anything like that, and I can send that information across, because I'm really kind of want to get this going and take it there to the next level.
That's brilliant. I've clicked it already.
Brilliant. It does ask a couple of questions because I want to screen out those people that aren't in tech, because you get quite a lot of people coming through. So and the other thing I just wanted to say is, because it's happening so quickly, is that next week I'm launching, my mentorship program kicks off. So that's a kind of paid for 8-week program working around this and looking at it from different perspectives, like productivity, what's your mission, how do you be more resilient. So if anyone is interested in that, connect with me as well, and I'll send you the details. So
brilliant, thank you, Emma. That's really, really good.
So
I'm actually going to have to drop.
That's fine.
Because I need to swap my mum hats and go and do the school pickup.
As we all do, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Looking back into life. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing, and thank you everyone else for all the questions. What I'm going to do, I hope I can still see the questions for a little while. I'm just going to drop through them and I'll pick them up and pull them into my group. So another reason to kind of come and join us, and I'll see what I can do. See you later. Bye.